Hi, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir.
So, while we are proceeding with our accreditation process and while we are understanding the requirements in UAE in more depth, two topics have come up really sharp with me, which I feel needs much more deliberation and understanding by the taxpayers. First is MLS. So, how we are sending the acknowledgement from corner 3 to corner 2, or from corner 5 to corner 2, or from corner 4 to corner 3 to corner 2 to corner 1, how it works actually, and what are the challenges the taxpayers are going to face. So, that is the first topic I want to discuss today. And the second topic I want to discuss is the onboarding journey, because what I feel in its current shape and the methodology, it has become quite manual in nature and quite complex for the taxpayers. So we'll just talk about it. So Rajesh, if you can explain me how this MLS from corner 1 to corner 2 to 3, 4 and 5, how it's going to work. If you can just kind of do it, and the for the audience, we'll have the presentation shared on the screen.
Okay. So I'll say it is very complex process. So far, we haven't seen such structure into the Peppol network. What I believe is, as on today, it's only about MDN messages. But since e-invoicing framework is come up into UAE, they have specifically chosen for MLS, which basically also insists corner 1 and corner 4 to provide the confirmation back to corner 3 and corner 3. So let's say if we initiate from the supplier side, where corner 1 sends an e-invoice via corner 2 to corner 3. Corner 2 has to wait for MLS from corner 3, and in parallel, corner 2 will send TDD document to corner 5 also, which is government access point. Now let's say corner 3 doesn't provide MLS in time, then corner 2 requires to withdraw the TDD from the government, and if it comes within the time, then the transactions will be in a successful status. Now there are other scenarios. Let's say while sending from corner 2 to corner 3 provides the validation back to corner 3. And such scenario, corner 2 require to resolve those particular exceptions. They need to again resubmit that document to corner 5 and corner 3 both. Now let's say this validation gets cleared at the corner 3. Corner 3 will send this document to corner 4, where until corner 4 doesn't confirm the MLS back to corner 3, corner 3 cannot provide MLS back to corner 2. So it's a very complex navigation between corner 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5.
So is it prudent for a taxpayer that I first send it to corner 3, and from corner 1 it goes to corner 2 sends it to corner 3.
3.
I receive the acknowledgement from corner 3 via corner 4 sends it to corner 3, and once the acknowledgement is received by corner 2, then only I send the information to corner 5.
No.
Is it better?
It will be better if provided they have asked in such a manner, but requirement is about you need to send both document in a parallel. So at the same time, while you are sending to corner 3, you have to send to corner 5 also. And based on the confirmation, which is getting via corner 4 to corner 3 to corner 2, you need to act whether it is a validation message or success message. And then the scenario comes whether you need to resubmit or withdraw document from TDD, which is corner 5.
Now, Akash, actually, in this particular situation, if any document, if it is kind of a post facto, it is done, it's not being done in real time, or it is not being followed like a clearance model, but is being done in a different way, then the challenge for a taxpayer would be that if the invoice is rejected either from corner 3 or corner 5, or it comes back, they will have to take that information back to their ERP and make it defunct, or they would have to cancel that invoice or regenerate that. They'll have to do that process. And looking to the ground realities in UAE and the complexity of invoicing that they have, how practically possible this would be for them?
Very difficult, and it seems more like they are trying to embed clearance into this reporting model that they are saying, because whenever we are talking to any taxpayer, they think, can we do it in batches? Well, ideally in reporting model, you should be able to do it in batches. But in this scenario, looking at all the complications of you need to wait for the acknowledgement, for the validation clearance, it won't be advisable to do it in batches. And the taxpayers will have to do a lot of changes into their business process. to embed this whole cycle of waiting for the acknowledgement from corner 4 before they conclude their books. Because ideally what I'm also looking at is the purchase integration is a next level challenge. They are saying, what if we are not integrating my ERP as a corner 4, but I'm just parking the invoice? In that case, how the acknowledgement will be given back to corner 2? So there are so many open questions around this whole process that the best approach will be to do a proper API level integration. And if it's not there, they will have to do a lot of rework. There will be a lot of manual working which will be required.
And if I don't do a backward integration of my purchase document into my ERP or my P2P system, then the challenge will be I will still receive a pseudo acknowledgement as if I have received the invoices, but I may not have taken it in my books at all. So this type of a reconciliation challenge between your books and between your people network transaction may become a challenge into it. And in future, they may have to go through many more reconciliations that may come in. Question to you, Rajesh, what is the time period we'll get for this corner 1 to corner 5 transaction to be done before I kind of do it? And another question is one of the taxpayer had me. How many times will your system actually do the repeated efforts into it? Because you will be generating the people XML for most of the taxpayers. Now, if there is a rejected by another people provider, then you will be correcting it or into your system, resending it. So how many retries you would be doing, and what is the time period which is required for this entire cycle to be completed?
Okay. So as per the requirement from UAE framework on e-invoicing, default timeline is of 15 minutes. And then there are case-to-case scenario whether you are doing domestic transaction or international transaction. For those, the reporting requirement within the C5 is of 20 minutes. So ideally, either it is corner 2, corner 3, or corner 5. So corner 5 sending MLS back to corner 2, or corner 3 sending MLS back to corner 2. It has to happen within 15 minutes. Now, if that doesn't arrive within 15 minutes, then you need to act upon those scenarios. Either you need to withdraw or try again, right? Now, when it comes back as a part of either validation error or say, for example, C4 is not reachable, and because of that, C3 is unable to provide the MLS back to C2, we as a Signet e-invoicing global system, we do retry to resolve those exceptions, and we do around 3 to 5 retries on each and every transaction, and generally it takes around 1 or 1.2 seconds per retry, because we need to create entire XML structure, we need to validate it, we need to send it back to C3 and C5 also. So this many times we do retry at our end.
Now, if my corner 4 is a ERP and my ERP is not accessible, then can corner 3 store those data, or they have to send the message back to corner 2 that the ERP is not reachable and we are not able to generate the MLS, so maybe try some other time? So this type of challenges also would come in?
Yes, it will come in many of the cases where corner 3, unable to send the invoices to corner 4 because corner 4 network is not reachable. In such scenario, corner 3 need to they cannot send the success MLS back to C2, and in such scenario the timeout will occur. So within 15 minutes, corner 3 will wait for 15 minutes to get the MLS from corner 4, but if it doesn't arrive, the timeout will occur, and during those time, corner need to again try to send that document back to corner 3 to resolve that particular exception.
So Akash, honestly, as a taxpayer, I have already shipped the goods. I have sent the invoice, and I will have to manually follow up with my customer that please ensure that I get acknowledgement back from your corner 4 and corner 3, so that I am able to officially invoice into it. So ideally, I should invoice, I should ship the goods only after I have received the acknowledgement.
True. I think that's where even a change, again, adding the clearance element here. It's like a clearance. You need to wait for the acknowledgement from corner 4 before you actually start your shipment or before you actually complete your services, because that's when the actual invoice process is completed and it becomes like a valid document, a valid tax invoice.
And my understanding on corner 4 confirmation is that it is not of acceptance of invoice, it is just receipt of the document acknowledgement which I need to send it back.
Yes.
Is my understanding correct?
Yes, it is correct, because all the validations and clearance process will happen at the access point, which is corner 2 and corner 3.
So I would really request all taxpayers to go into this part in a little bit more detail, have the conversations with our team, because each of your requirement would be different, each of your use case would be different, and that actually will be how to thought through, because without thinking through the response into it, selecting the methodology of invoicing would be a challenge for it. You have 1 year from now actually to do it. So start early, start analyzing these parts and take it up. I would shift to the next topic, and this is more complex, maybe in nature. So what I understood from it is, and please correct my understanding if I'm wrong. So first, as a taxpayer, I will have to go to EmaraTax portal. I will have to select a ASP that I'm going to work with it. I will have to give my TRN information or a corporate tax information. And then I will have to send that acknowledgement to my ASP. My ASP will send the acknowledgement back to EmaraTax information. Ki, yes, this tax provider has registered with us. And then each of my business units or my group units can be registered onto the EmaraTax portal. And if I make any changes in terms of my ASP today, tomorrow, or in future, I will have to first make the correction onto the EmaraTax portal. And again, my ASP will have to reconfirm that corrections or acceptance of that correction onto the EmaraTax portal. Then only I can shift to another ASP. Is my understanding correct, or I'm trying to make it still simple?
Yes, your understanding is correct, and I'll say it is quite complex onboarding process, because what we see around the globe is generally it is happening over an API, where any taxpayer can come on ASP and directly onboard their entities on behalf of the government platform via APIs. But here in case of UAE, taxpayer first has to go on to the EmaraTax portal, and once they enter their detail, they will be redirected back to ASP portal by selecting the ASP with whom they want to associate for e-invoicing program. Once that is done, there are two part which is required to be done by ASP. One is, after getting the verification done between the details entered by taxpayers onto the ASP portal and details retrieved from the EmaraTax, they need to onboard that particular participant using TIN number of the taxpayers onto the SMP. And then once it is done, they need to submit back those participant details back into the EmaraTax portal. Now, whenever there is any change happens into this particular SMP or onboarding, let's say today I, as a taxpayer, declare the invoice capability for receiving part, and tomorrow if I add credit note also as a receiving capability, again I need to go back to EmaraTax and submit those details. Now, if you want to move to another ASP, you have to revoke this particular association from the EmaraTax. So every time you do changes on ASP portal, you have to submit those details back to EmaraTax.
So, but in India also, is it not required that I have to go to the GSTN portal and kind of first time I have to say that enable the APIs, or here on NIC or Signet IRP portal also, I have to go and select the GSP who's going to support that. So that is a one-time requirement which is there in India also, but maybe not to this granular level where you need to make changes into each of the segments.
Yes.
And I think I also have few points over there that now the Peppol ID, which is going to come in for these taxpayers, how is the whole Peppol ID getting onboarded? Because when I talk to most of the taxpayers and enterprise, they're like, okay, we have one tax structure, another is a corporate tax structure. Now there is a third identifier which I need to maintain, and at what level?
Yes, it will be, and you can maintain that at particular entity team level, or you can maintain that at the group level also, based on at what level you have created your team under the EmaraTax. So how does this Peppol ID gets created? It is the responsibility of ASP, where basically taxpayer is getting onboarded. So it requires two combinations. One is ISO code, which is provided by Peppol for each and every country. And then we have to append the TIN number of a taxpayers while onboarding that particular participant into the SMP. and that creates the people ID. Underneath that, the business cards will be created, which basically contains the receiving capability of a particular taxpayers.
But if I want to have business unit wise people ID, because each of business units sending invoice and receiving will be separate, so that also will have to be accommodated into the people ID that gets created.
Yes.
And another question which creates a complexity, so how can I go and search somebody's people ID, because updating my master is going to be the biggest challenge. Is there a methodology by which I will be able to go and find Akash company's people ID or your company's people ID? Is there any lookup or something by which it is possible?
So yes, it is possible. There is a central metadata registry provided within the people network, which we call it as a SML, where anybody can go and search the organization for whom they want to validate the people ID, and it is available over the web-based interface and as well as available over an API also.
So we would request you to provide this searchable facility in a API level mechanism into your solution, so that anybody who's integrating and updating their masters can do it more easily, if that is possible.
Yes, and you rightly said, and this is the basic necessity of any ASP solution functionality to be provided for taxpayer, because often they want to validate their entire business partner masters, and we have already incorporated that facility into our solution, where a taxpayer can upload their business partner in terms of suppliers and buyers in a bulk manner, either over an API or file-based upload, and they can just validate all the people ID which is present against all of these business partners.
Thank you so much, both of you, for your time today, and this is very helpful. And maybe next week we'll talk in more details on the other complexities and how we can work on it. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.